If you guys don't have any questions, let's start. This is what we're going to do today. In today's session, we're going to talk about the different designations you may going to see. All of you, can you see my screen? Cool. Let me go ahead and record the session as well. Recording is in progress. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about. Purely the basics of what you need to know before you jump into any role as a BA. So anyone here, do you mind helping me out with what sort of roles, or in other words, the designations you have heard so far for BA? I'm sure that you must have did your research. Anyone? Sorry. Inal, Rajiv.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like the business analyst role is to...
Go ahead, Cheetah. Do you mind go on mute as well?
I feel like the business analyst role is basically just redesign whatever the company wants and formulate it in a basic, in a type of verbiage that like a company can understand.
Okay, cool. But my question is, what sort of designations you have heard so far for a BA? Have you heard about a designation called business analyst? All of you? So I'm sure you must have heard about another designation called senior business analyst. Yes or no?
Yep.
Yeah. So if there is a BA, if there is a senior BA, then there's supposed to be a junior BA as well, right? And who else? So if there is so many analysts, then we need to have a manager, right? So
Project manager.
No, project manager is different. We're going to see that in a minute. We're going to talk about a BA manager, right? And then we have, let's say these are the few designations in general, wherever you go, in most of the organizations you're going to see. Apart from it, we have something called requirements analyst, right? If you have a requirements analyst in your project, then you have a manager who manages requirements analyst. We call him as requirements manager. And there are two out-of-box roles. One role is called, times people call you as techno-functional analysts or analysts. Other times you may gonna hear another designation called systems analyst, right? So wherever you go, whatever the organization you consider, these are the basic designations you may gonna hear, which means right after the training, once you land on your first job, you're gonna land on your role either as a junior BA or a BA, right? Now, what are these other roles are? Why do we need so many analysts for one project? Do we really need them or don't need them? If we need them, what sort of roles they play? If we don't need them, what sort of roles which we need to apply once we start applying for these roles? Let's quickly see what these guys will do, what a junior BA will do, what are the difference between a junior BA and a BA. Let's start with a junior BA. So most of the time, let's assume, guys, you have your own organization and you hired a fresher. Do you expect him to do the business from the day one and interact with all your clients and do any sort of project or your business related info from the day one?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? We don't take any calculated risks here. So what we do is we don't even encourage our junior analysts to capture or to do any sort of requirements gathering or any sort of project documentation or project related discussions. But what we do or what we ask them to do is we will make sure there will be most of the organizations, there won't be no client interactions, which means we won't ask our junior analyst to be your face of or to become the face of your requirements gathering processes, or we don't ask our junior business analyst to go ahead and interact with the business teams or capture their needs. But they will actively play a role in all the meetings. They attend all the meetings or all the discussions which you are going to have with your business teams, but they are active at listening and they're passive talkers. They don't talk anything. They'll just be a part of that particular discussions. That's the reason I said no client interactions, but they play a major role as part of your documentation. At the same time, they interact with project teams. What does it mean? They interact with the project team. It doesn't mean that other analysts or the manager, they don't interact with the project team. The reason why they interact a lot with the project team is they do the documentation, or they capture all these artifacts, or they will prepare all these artifacts, right? So once they deliver all these artifacts, if somebody has any question, the first point of contact for them is the one who actually written that particular document or an artifact. Let's say I have Abdul and Rachel here. They both are consider they both are my junior business analysts. And let's say Rajay, who is coming from the development team, he has some questions related to some XYZ requirements. So the first point of contact for him is he will directly go and ask Rachel, I have a question there. Do you mind let me know? Or I'm unable to understand the requirement. So the Rachel will try to explain them. And let's say we still have some questions which Rachel might not be able to answer. Then Rachel will go back to the BA or a senior BA, get those questions clarified, and she will go back and explain the developer or whoever asks, looking for any sort of info, right? So that's what your junior BAs are all about. In general, this is what their role is. And then we have someone called BA. So BAs, yes, they will be in the client-facing role. At the same time, they may or may not be participating. No, let me put it in this way. May or may not be involved in the documentation. Which means if a junior business analyst is handling the documentation part, they'll overview the junior BA's tasks, right? And then you have someone called a senior business analyst. In other words, in few organizations, we call them as lead BAs. So what do these guys will do? So lead BAs, they're definitely not involved in documentation, which means they'll make sure their subordinates or whoever works for them, they'll take care of the documentation part, and they involved in the requirements engineering phase, only in the requirements engineering phase at times. So we will discuss in the future sessions what is this requirements engineering is. But what happens, or what do these lead business analysts will do? They may not be available during all the phases of the project. So they kickstart with the planning phase. They will make sure we or the other analysts are capturing all the necessary requirements. Once all the requirements are captured, documented, and baselined, nothing but approved, they will move out of the project. They will handle the entire, they'll make sure the BA will be able to handle the entire project, and they'll move from that project and they kickstart another project from the scratch. That's what most of the time your lead BA or your senior business analyst will do, right? And then you have someone called a BA manager who manages the analysts. He's not project manager, he's a BA manager. We're going to see the difference in a minute. And then this guy is again into people management, make sure he manages your analysts. At the same time, he overviews our supervision of BA, right? So in general, these are all the designations you're gonna see wherever you go, whatever project you pick, right? Now, what are these guys are? And again, maybe you need to ask me another question. Do all these designations require to successfully deliver a project? No. So in general, if it is most complex project or if you're dealing with some rich clients, yeah, they encourage you guys to go ahead and hire more analysts. But in general, what happens is for one small, let's say if you're working with any small scale industries or the projects which doesn't last for more than 6 months, they only hire one analyst. Based on your experience, they'll give you a designation, either a BA or a senior BA or a junior BA. And based on that, they will go ahead and they'll ask you to perform it, which means you're the only guy who is handling the complete business analysis part. So there won't be any junior BA or a BA. Let's say they hired you as a senior BA or they hired you as a BA. There may be another BA who will, make sure the entire project is in place and make sure that we are all capturing the required requirements, right? And the BA manager may overview it. At times what they do, they don't even hire a BA manager. They ask the project manager to look into all the requirements and get it delivered. So we will see the difference between a BA manager and a project manager right after this explanation. Now what are these guys are? What are these requirements analysts or requirements manager are? So in one project, do you see a BA and an RA? No. So your organization may call you as a business analyst or a requirements analyst or some other fancy role which we may never know. For example, if you take me as an example, my previous designation was metadata management and data governance analyst. I do the same stuff, but you can see that fancy designation that particular client has given to us, right? So in that way, we never know what our designations are. But irrespective of our designation, like I said, we should always go with the job description, not with the JD, right? Just give me 1 minute. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, I'm back. All right, so we have this requirements analyst. He's similar like your BA. So you're going to see a role either as a BA or as an RA or as a requirements analyst. And then you have someone like a requirements manager, someone like your BA manager. And then this is something which you guys need to definitely look into, these two designations. These are not complete BAs, but these days people are expecting you to be a techno-functional analyst. So what is this techno-functional analyst they do? So are they not BA? They are actually BA. So they have like 80% business analysis skill set and 20% they expect you to be or to have a technical skill set, right? So what is this techno-functional analyst? What is this 80% or 20%? Will they expect you to be super good at technology? No. They expect you to at least know the basic SQL. It depends on what project you do. And most of the time, these techno-functional analysts, they work from the client location. So what happens if you work from the client location? Let's say you gather the requirements as a BA and you asked your development team to develop or write a code for that. So they did that and you tested it and then you delivered the code to your clients. They started working on it and then they have an issue. Let's say something or they have identified a bug in the code. They want someone to look into it. Then we don't have an expertise, so we have to go back to our development team to look into the bug and we have to ask them to fix it. In general, this is a process, right? Now, your client will raise a request. That will go to your development team. They will look into it. They'll perform the root cause analysis. They'll fix it. They will retest it. And then they will ask your client, they'll send the updated code to your client. Then they will ask them to work on it. Now for this entire process, if you think, it will minimum take 1 business day. Do you agree? All of you? Guys, are you with me so far?
Depends on the requirement, though, I think.
Correct. So it depends on the requirement. My assumption is I'm taking at least 1 business day, right? Now, based on that, if you are a techno-functional guy, if you are able to fix the same code, or debug the code then and there, that will save them 1 business day. I think that is saving them a lot of time, and time is directly proportional to money. That's the reason at times they want us to be techno-functional, know a little about what you are working on from a technology side. And systems analyst role is something which is more technical, which is not 100% BA, but at times we never know. People may call you as a systems analyst, but your role is purely a BA role. Okay. Any questions? Guys, anyone? Any questions so far?
No, good so far.
Okay.
I'm okay.
All right, if you're okay, let me
I
see.
actually have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Raja.
Yeah, I mean, I have worked as a senior financial analyst, and when I would apply for jobs as a business analyst, so a person like me, I mean, I've been in consulting, as a senior financial analyst. So would I be looking at the business analyst roles or senior business analyst roles, according to you?
You are going to look at a senior BA role with financial expertise. So maybe you're going to target at some sort of financial clients as an analyst, but you are going to have the business analysis skill set plus your domain, which will help you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, if you don't have any other questions, let's quickly see. Someone is asking, what's the difference between a BA and a PM? Let's have a look at it. What's the difference? So the project structure I'm going to show you right now, this is from Bank of America side. Oh. Let me know, guys, if you're unable to see my screen. All of you, can you see my screen? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right. Hey, Prachi, do you mind go on mute? I see some echo from your machine.
Oh.
Thank you. All right, if you can see my screen, all of you, on the top, in general, this is how the hierarchy gonna be, right? So you have an AVP or a technical director who is responsible to successfully deliver a project in any organization. These designations may vary, right? But these guys know how to get the projects, know how to deliver the projects, but they can't overview all the 100+ projects, 1,000+ projects, or 10+ projects, or one project which you deliver at your workplace, right? So what they do for each project, they'll go ahead, they will hire a project manager. Now he's the guy who is responsible, or he or she is the person who is responsible to successfully deliver the project without any issues. Now, for them to successfully deliver the project, they need 3 groups. So one, they need a functional team, then they need a technology team, nothing but technical team, nothing but your developers, and then they need a testing team. So this is where we come into the picture, right? So this is where your BA manager will come into the picture, and then you have a lead BA and a BA. So all the BAs may report to a lead BA, depends on, again, your organization hierarchy. and this lead BA may report to a BA manager, and a BA manager may work hand in hand with a project manager, or this BA manager may report to a project manager. At the same, it is applicable for your development team. All your developers reports to a lead developer, and all the lead developer may report to a technical architect or development manager, and he or she may report to a project manager. The same thing applies for your QA. Starts from a QA report to a QA lead, and QA lead report to a QA manager, and QA manager report to a programmer or project manager, right? In general, this is how this is what the Bank of America's hierarchy is. But again, being said that, this may vary with respect to the organization. Now take a scenario wherein your project doesn't have, let's say, a BA manager or a lead BA. You're just a one BA who is taking care of all the requirements. Then you don't need a lead BA or a BA manager. All you do is you directly go ahead and you report to your project manager, and he reports to whomever he's supposed to report in that organization. Same applicable for your developers. You may have 3 or 4 developers in your project. So you have like those 2 developers may report to a lead developer, and he may report to the project manager. Applicable for QA, right? These are the 3 basic departments. Wherever you go, you're gonna say it. And the names may vary. If you call it as Business Solutions Group, like I said before in the last session, if you go to Bank of America, they won't call you as a BA. They'll just call you as a team member for Business Solutions Group or Business Analysis Team. That's how their designation structure is, right? Apart from these 3, if you see on the extreme right corner, you have another 2 teams which are not reporting to your project manager. They are actually reporting to your technical director or an AVP or a VP. And can anyone tell me why? Why these 2 groups are not reporting to a project manager? Why they are reporting to someone who is a head of project manager? Anyone?
Well, I feel that they're basically.
I think it's because.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I think it's because IT infrastructure and the production manager, they work on a variety of projects and not just one project.
That's correct.
And that's why they have to be a step above the project manager, because the project manager is completely focused on his project and not the,
right.
I would say, 10,000-foot view of the company.
That's exactly right, Rajiv. So if you see these two departments, they don't work for one project in your organization. They work for multiple, or they work for all the projects within your organization. They are the teams who manages your machines, your softwares, any sort of admin rights you require. That's where your infrastructure team will come into the picture, and anything related to production related support. So where your production teams will come into the picture. And like I said, they don't work for one specific project, but they work for a variety of projects within your organization, or they work for all the projects within your organization. That's the reason they will never report to the project manager, but they always report to someone who is head above or above to your PM. And like I said, this hierarchy may vary. So all you have to do is, once you start working in your next role, you need to figure out who is responsible for what, and what sort of where do you stand, and whom do you report to. These are the basic things which you need to figure out on your very first day in your next role. Any questions?
I understand completely.
Cool. Anyone? I see Rajiv, you muted. Okay. All right, Abdul, let me go ahead and unmute you. I just did. All right, guys. If you don't have any other questions, let's go further. Today's session is going to be I'm going to leave you guys around 9:40, 9:45. But tomorrow, our session is going to be around 1 hour. 1 hour 15 minutes. I'll let you know in advance. All right, let me take the same. I'm so sorry. I think I gave a time as our sessions are on Mondays, Wednesdays, and the Thursdays. So what I mean to say is today's session is going to be around 45 minutes. But our next session on Wednesday, which will last for 1.5 hour session, which means it starts at 9 p.m. Eastern to either 10:15 or 10:30. We're going to touch base all the 3 project activities in our previous session based on continues to where we end up today. All right, so let's go further and let's talk about a small table. So we're going to talk about factors which affects your role. We're going to see with respect to product-based and services-based firms. So can anyone tell me, if someone is going to offer you a role or a job, what sort of factors you will look into?
Experience, education.
Experience.
Our attitude first, and then knowledge.
Okay, so these are the few things which you guys need to consider. Maybe one, the kind of roles and designation which they may want to offer, right? And let's say maybe you need to look at the work environment. And anyone else? What are the other factors you look into? Let's say if someone offering you a job, you won't take it right away, will you?
Oh, no, okay. I thought the factors of why we would be offered the job. Okay.
Okay.
Company and its profile, I guess.
So stability. Okay. Anything else? Anyone? I see more than 14 attendees here, but I see hardly people talking. I'm sure if you're on mute, go ahead and unmute yourself and you feel free to answer. Anything running in your mind, it's a right answer or wrong answer, give a shot. I encourage you to take initiative and go and speak. Jansi, Menak, Nail, Nima, Prachi, Rachel, Raja, Rajiv, Roshan, Daniel, Abdul. All right, we need to look at stability. Once you look at the growth, and one most important thing, of course, one of the most important thing is money, who pays you well. And when we are talking about a BA role here today, so we need to look at travel and stress as well. So let's come to product-based companies and services-based firms. Can anyone here, do you mind giving me an example or difference between a product-based firm or a services-based firm?
A product-based firm manufactures products or software that develop products out to the market.
Mm-hmm.
A services-based company does not have a product of its own. Its products are the services they provide.
Okay.
For example, before Google started making all their Android devices or the Android operating system or anything, it was a search providing company. It was a search service provider.
Right.
Microsoft, on the other hand, they make Windows and they make software.
Correct. So product-based firms are nothing but they develop their own products and they sell it in the market, either to the clients or unrequired, whoever their clients are. And services-based firms are, they don't develop any products for themselves, but they do develop the products for their clients based on their requirement. Right? Now, being said that, if you are a BA, if you end up working with a product-based company or a services-based company, how does it gonna be? What are the things which you need to look into, and how the roles gonna be, and who pays you more, and what are the work, what's going to be the work environment, etc. That's what we're gonna see in this particular section. So roles and designations, we'll come back to it, and I'll explain you in a minute. But let's talk about the work environment. So most of the product-based companies, if you see, they work very less in number. When I say they very less in number, let's say you're hardly going to have a 10 or 12 people in a project, and out of this 10 and 12, let's say they hired you as a BA, and as a BA they have hired, and let's say tomorrow or day after or after a month you wanted to explore more about the project management roles, or they have identified that you have that skill set that you can go ahead and perform a QA role or a project management role. They'll give you an opportunity to go ahead and do that. It doesn't mean that in services-based firm they won't, but most of the time in services-based firm the scope is little limited, but where in a product-based firm the scope is more diverse. So the roles you're going to play in a product-based firm is diverse, again not restricted to one particular thing, where in services-based firm the scope is good, which means they hired you to perform one role and they expect you to deliver that. Oops. Scope is limited, right? And if you take the same example, being said that your work environment going to be a little tight, at the same time your ideas are accepted. In a services-based firm, yep, it is little free because you know what your deliverables are for the next 1 month, and your ideas are accepted as well. Now, when it comes to stability, can anyone tell me who is more stable, product-based firms or services-based firms?
I think product-based firms
Are stable?
I think service-based forms are more stable.
That's correct. So product-based firms, most of the time they hit first by the market volatility. Let's say the market is not so great. People are not purchasing the products, so they're not renewing the existing clients are not renewing new products. If they're not purchasing, which means it's less revenue to the organization. If it is less revenue, it's more layoffs, right? Where in a services-based project, it exclusively goes on your SLAs. Let's say, take IBM as an example. Now IBM started working for let's say Fannie Mae, and let's say which was one of my previous client, and we had an agreement with IBM that is for the next 10 years. So for the next 10 years, IBM is going to provide services to Fannie Mae. If you can go ahead and get into those two projects, irrespective of how the market is, until Fannie Mae gets bankrupted, you have that particular contract, and your role will last for the next XYZ given years of period, right? So I won't say it is not too bad or too great, but your product-based firms hit first by the market based on how it is, but services-based firms are comparatively, they're okay. Right now, the growth, being said that you do multiple, you have an opportunity to explore more. The growth is always exponential in product-based firms, where in services-based firms, it is a little stable. So they'll let you know, okay, if you stick with our firm for the next 5 years, you'll be a senior BA. From there, another 4 years or 5 years, you'll be a BA manager. So you know what it is. But in a product-based firm, you explore more, you have an opportunity to grow fast. So money, which again, I don't see like a huge difference, but money in a product-based firm is higher when compared to a services-based firm. I wouldn't say like there won't be any huge difference. It's hardly going to see around $10,000 to $15,000 difference per annum. Right? If you work for a product-based company, they do actually pay more. There are a few services-based firms they do pay more as well. So it depends. Travel in most of the product-based firms it is frequent, but just travel for short durations, wherein you visit your clients, capture other requirements. So maybe at least once in a month or once in a quarter you travel and you come back. Where in services-based firm you hardly travel, but you're traveling. You're going to travel on a long term. This is more applicable for your offshore and onshore model. But if you're all based out of United States, you can ignore it unless your role demands for it. And stress is a little high in broad-based firms when compared to services-based firms. Right. So my personal suggestion is you actually learn a lot in the product-based firms. Right. So when I started my career, I started with services-based for almost 4 years, and then I jumped into a product-based services-based firm for almost 2 years. So whatever I have learned in those 2 years, when compared to my initial 4 years, I learned almost more than that. So my personal suggestion is if you get an opportunity to work for a product-based firm, initially it may be a little tough, but go ahead and take it. Work for that firm. You will explore more, you'll learn more, and then find a service-based firm. You can get settled in a services-based firm. That's what my personal suggestion is.
Mr. Teja, could you just, I mean, personally, I'm sorry, but could you just, relate what you mean between the product-based and service-based?
All right, so product-based firms are, for example, take Oracle. Oracle is a product-based firm. They develop their own products, and they have huge list of clients who will buy their products. Even IBM has products and services too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And services-based firms are exclusively like, let's say, Accenture is more into consulting and services, right? Or any other, or your Ernst and Young, or any other services firm. So what they do, they provide services to the clients. Nothing but they may provide the resources, or and those resources may develop the products for the clients. They don't do it from an organization point of view. They just do it in a service form. There are many service-based firms which actually comes from outsourced from India. You may heard a few names like Infosys, TCS, etc. All right. Any other questions, anyone? All right. If you don't have any questions, that's all for the day from my side. And I don't have your email IDs. I can go back and get from the person who have actually liaison between you and me. But I appreciate if you can go ahead and send a test email to this email ID so that I'll be able to forward you the required documentation and any sort of recordings. Every session will be recorded, and the session will be shared to your Gmail via Google Drive. Or it will be available on Mark's their portal. They will provide you with a username and password where you can go ahead and access all the videos. Any other questions? Okay, let me see the chat. Daniel, I encourage you, if you don't mind, go ahead and send a test email.
Yeah, sure. Just did.
All right, guys. That's all for the day from my side. Mark will take over. Maybe Nile or whoever just joined from Jeet's side, you can disconnect the call, and maybe Jeet will be in touch base with you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good night, all of you. I'll see you all on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, hi everyone. Abdul, Daniel, Jansi, Nima, and Prachi. Roshan? Hello, hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi.
Okay. Okay guys, I'm gonna just call you back because I think it's too late to